Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. This is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you with love from the historical neighborhood of Reedville, tucked into the southwest corner of beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. Our mission here is all about connection, connecting kids with books, families with each other, and communities through the power of story. Every week we're joined by incredible authors and creators whose work lights up kids' lives. You can support this mission by spreading the word. Share the show with your friends. Give us a shout out at school and let the folks know they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Castbox, Audible, Player FM, pretty much everywhere you can find a podcast. You can find Reading with Your Kids. We have two really fun guests for you today. First up, Jeff Verney, the Troubadour of Happiness, is here to celebrate his new picture book. It's called Bunnies to the Rescue. And later in the show, the music Mermaid is here to celebrate a musical mermaid tale. Want to let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Zevo Life. Are you looking for a clean, sustainable boost to your day? Something that'll keep you going from breakfast to bedtime stories? Check out Zevo Life, a nutrient-packed microalgae that's taking the health world by storm. We're talking over 50% plant protein, essential nutrients, antioxidants, fiber, the whole superhero cape of daily wellness. And the best part, it only takes 1 teaspoon a day. Whether you're performing your best Gruffalo voice or hosting a family read-aloud marathon, Zevo Life gives you that extra energy to bring the characters to life. Head on over to zevo.life, that's ZIVO.life, and use the promo code READ to receive 30% off your order. It's plant-based, eco-conscious, and backed by a 30-day risk-free guarantee. What are you waiting for? Go on over to zevo.life and use the promo code READ for 30% off.
Have you outgrown your health insurance plan or just not happy with what you're paying for? The number one reason we all change our health insurance is price. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Would you like to have better coverage at a better rate or at little or no cost to you? Your life needs are always changing, but have you done anything to improve your health insurance for you and your family? Health insurance laws and coverage are always changing and getting better. It's impossible to do all the research yourself, but now it's all done for you for free. So regardless of your age or medical condition, take a few minutes right now and find out if you can save money or even qualify for zero-cost health insurance in your state. Call now.
Paid for by Cheaper Health Insurance. 800-932-1656. 800-932-1656. 800-932-1656. That's 800-932-1656.
Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. Join us right now from right outside of Hartford in the great state of Connecticut. Our guest is here today to celebrate his beautiful picture book. It's called Bunnies to the Rescue. Please welcome to the show the Troubadour of Happiness, Jeff Verney. Jeff, how are you, buddy?
I am happy, man. How are you doing today, Jed?
I'm ecstatic. So happy to have you on the show.
Yeah, I have a medical condition. The happier I get, the more my hair falls out. And so you can see I'm really happy.
I think I'm coming down with it. I think I'm coming down with it too. It's a beautiful thing to be happy. And I'm guessing that you have the happy personality that might get on some people's nerves sometimes, because it's just like, dude, come on, stop with all this positivity.
You know, it's so funny you said that, because I've spent a fair amount of my career in the sort of business world, and people would think this is just a show. You're just kind of, you know, you're not really that happy all the time. And then as they got to know me, it's like, oh, you really are like this. But, you know, it was a little bit of an issue, because sometimes people would not take me seriously because they thought, oh, he's just kind of making up and being too glib and happy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hear you. I'm always amazed when I go into a store and I'm going to check out, and of course the person behind the counter who's being paid to ask you how you are is they say, how are you today? And I'm saying, I'm fantastic, I'm wonderful, how are you? And they look at me like, wait a minute, you're supposed to say I'm all right and move on with this.
Right. Well, it's funny. 17 years ago, I had a brain aneurysm, and they took me to a hospital here in the Hartford area, and it was too big for them to handle. So I was sent down to New York City, where I went to Columbia Presbyterian, and I had a 4.5-hour surgery where they had to open up my brain and clip up where it was bleeding and put it back together. And when I woke up after the surgery, and this was Christmas Eve, by the way, very memorable Christmas, the nurse 2 days later said, Mr. Verney, you have to understand, on this floor, which is all brain aneurysm patients, so I thought, well, that's a good place to be if they've got all these brain aneurysm patients, but 40% of the people here will not leave here. 40% will leave permanently changed. 10 to 20% will be normal. And we don't know which one you are right now. Now, I'm not sure why she felt compelled to share that with me. But, so anyways, I always say, I think I'm in that normal group, but if you think differently after talking, just let me know so we can revisit it.
You know, whether or not you're normal or not, I kind of dig who you are from our short time talking to each other, so I wouldn't question it. Maybe they put a little something extra in while they had the hood open.
Yeah. So what happens when something like this happens, and maybe they did, you know, you think, why was I one of the 10 to 20%? And, you know, and ultimately it was like, what's my purpose? And I've given this a lot of thought over several months. I thought, you know, my purpose is to help other people. And at this stage of my life, I'm trying to help other people by bringing happiness into their lives, whether it's through a book that hopefully children will make them happy, or I also am a singer-songwriter and, you know, perform songs that tend to be filled with gratitude and optimism and positivity. Or I also have a workshop that I do that's called the Jeff Verney Perpetual Happiness Tour, which is about how to enhance happiness in your life. So multiple roads to try to bring happiness to people here.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, let's talk about Bunnies to the rescue.
Sure.
Which bunnies are we going to meet? Right now, I have to tell you, I love bunnies, but now my wife's not a fan. Here in Boston, in Eastern Massachusetts, it seems like 5 to 7 years ago, we had an explosion in the bunny population. And so they eat all my wife's plants, and she gets bummed out.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because where Bunnies to the Rescue came from was we were on vacation in Nantucket, Massachusetts. And I was amazed at how many bunnies there were, you know, on Nantucket. And, you know, you think about whales, you think about beaches, you think about, you know, downtown cobblestones, you know, whatever. You don't think about bunnies. So I actually went to the children's bookstore to see children's area of a bookstore there, and to see if there were books on the bunnies in Nantucket. And there was nothing there. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write a book about bunnies, a children's picture book. And so I spent a lot of time sort of thinking through what I'd like the story to be over a couple of year period. And I guess about, 2 years ago, I sat down and said, all right, it's time for me to write this story. So it's really the story about 3 bunnies that are trying to save a 4th bunny, which is a stuffed bunny. and they're seeing this little stuffed bunny being taken around the island. Like, we got to go save that bunny. So they're hopping all over. They tap into the bunny network to find out, where it is. And they finally get to talk to the stuffed bunny. And the stuffed bunny's like, no, I'm very happy. I'm very safe. This is like, I'm with Sam. He takes good care of me, kind of thing. And so it's like, oh, okay. So, I try to present, helping others. Don't jump to conclusions. It's okay to be friends with people that are different from you, all within sort of a nice little, action story that takes place across with some of my favorite locations within Nantucket.
Awesome. I've had the pleasure to perform in Nantucket a few times, and it's a very unique place.
Well, it is. And to your point, though, so what I worried about was, well, what if the people on Nantucket hate these bunnies? And so when I finally, I wrote the story, and the story's like it was 700 words long. So it doesn't take a lot. It's like a page and a quarter when you write a story for a children's picture book. And I sent it off to, I joined the Society of Children Book Writer and Illustrators, which gave me access to all these illustrator portfolios. And I found Melissa Bailey, who was just, I love how her portrays animals. So I reached out to her. I sent her the manuscript, page and a quarter. And she goes, have you run this by an editor yet? And I was like, no, should I? I think it. Yes, no, you need to. So she got me to an editor actually who's based in Connecticut. Melissa is based in Michigan. I'd never been to Nantucket. And the editor's like, oh yeah, you're describing too many things here. We're going to show that with the illustrations. We need to kind of cut that out. So we worked on putting the story together, and I had a PDF that showed of the book, black and white with a color cover. And I took it to the Nantucket bookstore, Mitchell's Book Corner on Nantucket, last September, thinking like, all right, this is it. I'm going to find out if she's going to say, oh, what a nice book. Or, are you kidding me? People hate bunnies here. We're not going to want to sell this book. And so the good news is she said, oh my God, yes, we'd love to sell this book. When's it going to be ready? And it, finally got here this past April here. So to your point, there are a lot of people who like the heck with these bunnies. And here in Connecticut, we have the same problem. Oh my gosh. It's like, what did they just do to our flowers?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, we've, despite her frustration with it, we live with the bunnies and we don't do anything to hurt them. They are awfully cute, but it's amazing how many there are. Oh, there are. And I'm sure on Nantucket, there's no natural predators for them. There's no wolves or anything in Nantucket. And you probably don't have any wolves around where you live outside of Boston. So. Well, actually, we live, as I've mentioned here in the podcast, we live in the city of Boston, but my fence is the city line. Oh. And on the other side of my fence is a wildlife sanctuary. So we haven't seen wolves, but we certainly have coyotes and hawks and eagles and all sorts of creatures who might find a bunny kind of tasty. Yep. There's another one. Boom. So you shared with us that you sing and you have these happiness workshops. Did you plan on becoming a children's author? Or was that something that just kind of happened when you noticed the bunnies on Nantucket? Oh, yeah. Great question. So what happened was, most of my career was in the healthcare insurance world. The beloved companies like Cigna and United Healthcare and Anthem. And so on the side, I would always do writing. And actually about 15 years ago, I did a children's picture book that sort of featured Santa Claus and Jesus. And it was pretty funny. I thought it was a really good story. I actually found a distributor for the book who, I self-published it, but the distributor said, oh, we'll get this right into Christian bookstores. This is going to be a great, a little bit different in the Christian bookstore. So they started doing that. And then they came back and go, Jeff, we can't sell this at any of these Christian bookstores. I said, why? And they said, because Santa's on the cover. Well, yeah, but Jesus is on the back. Baby Jesus, the manger. I was like, no, they're not going to take a book that's got Santa on the cover. All right. So what I hope was going to be a very successful run with maybe even a sequel after that book. I still have a lot of those books in my basement right now, trying to get them distributed.
So I did it back then. I also had a band and I would record CDs and stuff, but never really able to do much with it. So about 3 years ago, my band was played here in town, West Simsbury, Connecticut, at an outdoor concert. And afterwards, a friend of mine who's a retired Episcopal priest came up to me and she grabbed me by the shoulder. She goes, "Jeff, why are you not doing this all the time? Look how happy you're making everybody." And I'm thinking, well, I got this job and a lot of responsibility and blah, blah, blah. And but she got me thinking, why am I not doing this all the time? So about 3 years ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to close this chapter of my life in the insurance healthcare world and pivot to creating and performing. And I literally thought, all right, one of the things I want to do is to write this book that, I've been thinking about for a year here, to focus more on that. And then also write songs, and also, the Perpetual Happiness Workshop. So it was all three. And I don't know, I've always had I teach Sunday school like for decades. I love the younger kids that are like, from kindergarten, second, third grade. They're so full of wonder and enthusiasm and curiosity. And I thought, yeah, that's the group I kind of want to target with my book. So, we've done this one. I have written a follow-up to it. That we'll just see how the first one does, and we might then turn this into a series, but one book at a time. There
you go. Absolutely. Where do you find your happiness?
Boy, where do I find my happiness? I mean, my happiness is grounded in this perpetual sense of gratitude that I've made it to another day, after having such a life-altering event back then. So I'm filled with gratitude, and then I feel that sort of essence of happiness because I feel very blessed. Family, friends, opportunities to try to help other people and make a difference in their lives. That brings me great happiness. Even if that difference is just making them a bit happier for a couple hours, an hour, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Many, probably, my kids were still in school, so it probably between 15, 20 years ago, I stumbled upon this book, and it was, I can't think of the name of it, but basically it was proof, the scientific proof, that if you live gratefully, I think the book was called Thanks, the Science of Gratitude.
Oh.
But if you live gratefully, you're happier,
Mm-hmm.
you're healthier, you can endure pain longer than others. And, that was always something I believed in my heart, but to see that there was actual scientists, like bright guys, not dummies like me, that have gone out and proven, yeah, look, if you're grateful for what you have, instead of looking over the fence and wishing you had what the Joneses had, you're gonna be happier. It's gonna be better for you.
You are absolutely right. And there are, as I prepared to do my workshop, and I had several pilot sessions to get feedback from people, and I read a whole bunch of books about happiness and gratitude, and it was just so reinforcing to see the underlying science. So, happiness grounded in gratitude leads to a healthier life, and you're not wasting your time. And I just released a song last month called "Gratitude Abounds" that just tries, you're free from envy, you're free from greed, you're living a life focused on what's meaningful to you. That's the whole thing. I mean, trying to encourage people to live lives that are really meaningful to themselves, being true to themselves, because it's easy to get distracted.
Yeah, absolutely. There must be days when you wake up and you maybe tired and sleep well, you maybe a little cranky, grumpy, and then the happiness just isn't there like it normally is and naturally is. Is there an exercise you do or technique that you use to kind of kick the happiness into gear?
Yeah, and believe me, I'm human. We're all human. Of course you have days where you wake up like, whatever might have happened the day before, you might be falling, whatever. But I try to, go through a gratitude list of things that I'm grateful for. And then really, just try, all right, let that go. Today's a new day. We can try to change things around. As I like to say in my workshop, happiness is a choice. So I try to, choose happiness and let go of that other. And some days it's harder than others. It's funny, but I mentioned the Gratitude Abound song that I released last month. Next month or late this month, next month, early September, my new song is called Everything's Worse. And people are like, Jeff, how can the Troubadour of Happiness be releasing a song called Everything's Worse? Well, I have a little bit of hope at the end of it, but we have to acknowledge, and it was triggered by my son. My son's now 29. A couple of years ago, he said, Dad, I've been sort of looking at how things were back in the late 1990s when I was born and looking at how things are now. And I think everything's worse. And I was like, there's some truth to that. And actually, maybe I can make a song out of that. So, we have our full range of emotions, but it's it's just trying to choose happiness and gratitude.
Yeah.
As best you can.
I love it. I love it. Something I try to do too, and just as we're speaking, I go through that gratitude checklist at the end of every day. I think I should add the morning too, before I hop out of bed.
Yeah, I love it. And it's just, one of the things that was gratifying about doing these workshops, and even my last workshop I did was for about 60 high school kids at a local high school in the fall. And my question I always ask for is like, what are you grateful for during the workshop? And that triggers a conversation. It was really great to hear some of these kids say, I've got my gratitude list that I go through every night. I'm like, yes. Don't ever lose sight of that, please.
Yeah. It's funny for my the educational magic shows I did. I created this one trick where I'd hand out little beads, and I was going to, after kids held on to them, I was going to collect them and turn them into a necklace. And the purpose, it wasn't all that great a magic trick, but it allowed me to ask the kids that were holding on to the beads what they were grateful for. And I remember when I started it, came up with the idea, my son, who was in high school at the time, he's like, Bob, you can't do that, boy. You're in a middle school and you're going to ask some kid, you have no idea what the kid's going to say, and you've got a family show. And I'm happy to say, asking, boy, over the years, maybe 10, 15,000 kids, never had anybody say anything inappropriate. A couple of kids said that they were happy for their video games, but otherwise it was, 99% of the kids said, I'm happy for my friends. I'm thankful for my friends, my family, a home, food on the table, all those things that we take for granted sometimes.
Oh my gosh. That's just so great to hear. I love it.
Tell me, Jeff, when that editor came to you and said, hey, you're telling too much. We have to show instead of tell. And you kind of got the message that my illustrator is going to have to tell part of this story. Was it difficult for you to kind of give up and sit back and say, okay, do what you will with my story?
Yeah, I tried to. There were a couple times that I had images in my head that I thought I just saw, put in brackets. It's not part of the manuscript, but just, you might want to show this or that. But again, it was always like, you might want to, as opposed to do this. And she was, and then I had to go back over to Nantucket and take pictures and videos of the places that were actually being featured in the book. And she just nailed it. And it was, I think it's important to give the illustrator the freedom to have their share of it, being the ownership, because they're helping create the overall story between the words and the pictures.
Yeah. I know, as somebody who's performing, it's a wonderful energy when you're up in front of an audience of thousands, hundreds, tens. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. It's fantastic. The feedback, the instant feedback that you get is wonderful. Is it different for you now that you wrote this story and then it took months to edit and get illustrated and get out there, and there are families reading this book and you ain't hearing the giggles and you're not seeing the smiles the way you do on stage?
Yeah, no, that's true. I just sort of accepted this is going to be how it's going to be, So I was on when the book was released, and right now it's like for sale on my website, in Personal Things. It is for sale in Nantucket in the bookstore, but I'm working on getting a distributor to get it into bookstores, because I naively thought independent bookstores in particular would say, oh, sure, we'd be happy to sell it. But I was like, no, we need you to come through a distributor because we can't keep sort of handling the barrage of this. There's a local coffee shop that is my best-selling place right now. It's selling a fair amount. But when we launch it, we went on a virtual book tour that was arranged by a marketing company that we visited 18 different sort of social influencers of children books, whether it was a podcast or Instagram video or, wherever it was, website. And they would all give little reviews for the book. So that was where I would get some feedback. All right, getting nice little reviews here. And then what's the most meaningful, though, to me is when I'm selling it in person. Like yesterday, I was at a farmer's market. The day before, I was at a street fair in different towns here in Connecticut. And and I was up at the bookstore a couple of weeks ago in Nantucket, signing and selling the books. And it's just so great to get to talk to people when they come up here. And it's sort of like about half of the people buying the books are grandparents or uncles or aunts buying it for family members. And then half of them are like families with kids. And usually the kids are really excited. I did have one very funny thing where the parents were really excited. And they're like, hey, and they had a little girl who was maybe 5 or 6 years old, oh, don't you love this book? And he'll write your name in it and, sign it. And this is great. Why don't you use your $20 to buy this book? And she's like, sits there shaking her head. I don't want to. And you tell the parents are like, I'm like, it's no problem. She's being honest. This is so funny. Or she's going to hold on to that $20, make sure she really gets what she wants. So it's just great to get the reactions to the whole thing. One of the particulars, I do have a few stuffed bunnies, like these blue stuffed bunnies that I'll use, like I'll raffle them or something. So like up in Nantucket, I said, I'll, if you leave your name and email address, I will draw 6 out of this, Ocean Kids bucket at the end of the signing, and I'll immediately let you know if you've won. So there was this one little boy, Silas, and I just remember he was like, oh, I really want to win, or I want to win at the table. So it was kind of fun having that interaction with him. And then lo and behold, Silas was one of the ones that I drew out. So I quickly emailed all 6 parents saying, you won, come on back, get the bunny. And Silas's dad responded like within 2 minutes of me sending that text, because Silas, I guess like the hour before I was going to stop signing, he kept taking his dad's phone and refreshing the inbox. And all of a sudden, Dad, we won! Oh my God! And he came back over, and so that it's little moments like that that's really gratifying from a personal interaction perspective.
That's wonderful. We should tell everybody where they can go to have a little personal interaction with you, and find out more about you and find out more about your books.
Well, next month I'll be at the Connecticut Festival event that'll be, I believe, in Milford is where it is. Let me just triple check that. I'll give you the exact time and date. Scroll down here. Yeah, it's Fair on the Half Shell in Milford Fair. It's Saturday the 16th, and it's from like 8:30, I think, till 3:30 in Milford at the Milford Green.
Awesome.
So I'll be there down in the southern part of the state. That's the next one. I'm in the process of, I had a lot of success at this farmer's market that was actually in Canton, Connecticut, Collinsville area. And I will probably go back there this Saturday because it was such a success last Saturday. And I don't know how much the people turn over, so you might have had all the same people kind of come through. So, unlike a place like Nantucket where there's turnover every week, kind of thing. So that, but then I have a website that is just jeffverney.com, jeffverney.com. And on that website, there's like an events tab. And I show there where I'm going to be doing book signings, and I update it as soon as I get. It's constantly updated depending on where I'm going to be.
Awesome.
And if anybody wants to go to Dom's Coffee Shop in Avon, Connecticut, you can contact me through my website, jeffverney.com, and say, hey, I'm going to be at Dom's on next Wednesday at 9:30. Any chance you can meet me there and personalize the book? I'll be there, believe me.
All right. We've had a great time speaking to the Troubadour of Happiness about his brand new book, Bunnies to the Rescue. Our guest has been Jeff Verney. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us.
Jen, thank you very much, Sue. I'm happier even than I was coming into this call, having had a chance to talk with you. So thanks, and I wish everybody a great day.
Hey, my friends, you know one of my favorite parts of the day is story time. There's just something magical about snuggling up with your kids, opening a great book, and escaping into an adventure together. And let me tell you, that moment becomes even more magical when you're curled up in the softest, coziest bedding you've ever felt. That's why I'm so excited that CozyEarth.com is supporting reading with your kids. Their bamboo sheets, comforters, and pajamas are unbelievably soft, naturally breathable, and temperature regulating, which means no more sweaty nights or chilly toes. Right now, Cozy Earth is offering Reading with Your Kids listeners an unbelievable and exclusive 41% off their entire site. That's right, you heard me right, 41% off. So go ahead, create your own cozy reading nook, wrap yourself and your kids up in something comfy, grab your favorite bedtime book, and turn story time into the best part of your day. Head on over to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code READ at checkout to save 41%. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code READ.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
855-325-1823. 855-325-1823. That's 855-325-1823.
Hey, my friends, I have a super idea you are going to love. How about this weekend, turn your backyard cookout into a storybook celebration? Fire up the grill, crack open a few of your favorite picture books, and serve up Big Fork Brand's legendary bacon sausage. Made with nitrate-free bacon and premium pork, it's juicy, smoky, and unforgettable. Top it off with Big Fork's spicy Chicago fire sauce, and you've got a meal as bold as the characters in your favorite bedtime tale. Get 20% off your order using the promo code READ at bigforkbrands.com. That's bigforkbrands.com. Promo code READ to get 20% off, because nothing brings families together like great food, great books, and a whole lot of flavor. Big Fork Brands. Read, grill, repeat. Join us right now from literally a stone's throw away from our Reedville studios. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new picture book. It's called A Musical Mermaid Tale. Please welcome to the show, the Music Mermaid. Hey, Music Mermaid, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Delighted to have you on. Delighted to have a neighbor on the show, true neighbor on the show.
Yeah, spent most of my life in Dedham, Massachusetts. My parents don't live too far from me. And when I wasn't living in Kuwait for 10 years, or when I didn't move to LA after college, I've been here in Dedham.
Interesting. I'm going to try to remember to get back to find out what you're doing in Kuwait for 10 years. But before we do, let's find out about a musical mermaid tale.
So A Musical Mermaid Tale, actually, the idea came up when I was in Lebanon. My father's from Lebanon, and I went to go visit my family out there. Not to date myself, but that was all the way back in 1996. And I had produced the songs by myself on GarageBand because, I always wanted to record music, and the studio fees were a little high, and I'm a teacher, so I decided to teach myself GarageBand, financed a MacBook Pro, and I came up with a song called Red, which was on my original album, which I called the Boston's Mermaid. And I played the song Red and then another song Unite that one of my friends had produced for me to my cousins. And my cousin Christina said, "Oh, you should make a book with your songs." And so I was like, "Oh, wow, that's a great idea." Because I've always had an obsession with children's picture books. I have quite the collection, being an elementary music teacher. So I then wrote a book while I was in Lebanon, pretty much wrote the whole thing, the musical Mermaid Tale. And it's about me and my rescue dog, Nemo Lucky Sharky, who's actually sitting right next to me right now. He's like my little shadow. And I produced 3 new songs myself on my computer. And that's how a musical Mermaid Tale was born.
Very cool. What's the story about?
So my favorite Hans Christian Andersen story is The Little Mermaid. So I kind of used that as an idea, but then it's me. So I always make a joke that if you're going to make a picture book, you might as well make yourself a princess. So that's exactly what I did. And, me and my dog, I rescued him, and when we met, we hugged. And so in the book, I meet a mer dog, who's given to me by my mer godmother, who is actually my real godmother, Carol. And a lot of the characters are all real family members, because that's really the message behind my book is that family is the most important thing, and it's kind of built off of real life, but it's a fairy tale. So, I moved back from LA after I came to the realization that family is the most important thing. And so, in the real Little Mermaid, she stays on Earth, but in my book, I actually end up coming back to my family, because that's the most important thing for me.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that you've combined your passion for music with your passion for children's books.
Thank you. Yeah. So I wanted to be an actress, and I did a lot of acting training, and then I moved out to LA and then started singing more than acting. And then I ended up moving home, like I said, because of my family. I wanted to be closer to my family again. And then I was working in marketing, so I had a first bachelor's degree, and then I after that job relocated to Texas, I was like, oh, now what? And am I going to stay in marketing? And my mother said, you would be the perfect elementary music teacher. And I was like, whoa, I could totally see myself doing that, Mom. So went back to college, worked at UMass Boston, to pay for half of it, and then got my music education degree. And here I am. Been working in the public school systems. I'm going into my 22nd year next year.
Wow.
So, music educators, I can't say to people enough, please keep music in the schools. It's just, the joy that it brings my students that I see is incredible. And it reaches all children of all different types. I have a real love and passion for teaching neurodivergent students and students with different, not your typical person, which I don't consider myself your typical person either. But I just love music. It reaches our souls, and it's a powerful thing. So hoping people will buy these books, because I actually did make a second one as well, and read together and dance together and sing together, and maybe even be inspired to write their own songs.
Yeah. We're going to get back to a musical Murdog tale in a moment, but I want to give you a chance. You were saying how important you think music education is. And, of course, we know that the arts, music, arts, things like that are the first subject to be cut, along with libraries. So talk a little bit about why, beyond just the joy that kids get out of music, talk a little bit about the benefits you think kids get from a great music education.
Well, I mean, lots of studies have been done to show the correlation between a musician and then them getting good grades after musical training, and also the math and the music. But I have taken a direction with my music education and my teaching that I don't just teach music. I'm also teaching social and emotional learning, and they learn a lot from the songs and the emotions in the songs, as well as the units that I've created, which are dependent on the students' diversity. Sometimes I teach them, a song I teach a whole unit on China. I teach a whole unit on Cape Verde. I teach units on Haitian music. And so I don't just teach music from America, which I also teach the music history from African American music and how it's influenced all the genres today, as well as I teach them about classical music, and they learn about the orchestra. So, I mean, they're really learning life skills through music, and I make it fun. So, I just, I teach them the continents, and we travel around the world, and then we do a lot of movement as well. So, a lot of us sit too long, and as they've been saying now, sitting is, the new, I don't know, it's the new thing that's really bad for you. So I get my students up and dancing and moving and feeling the music at least 2 to 3 times per the lesson. And right now my lessons are 40 minutes. But yeah, it's just so important. It just breaks my heart when I hear that they're trying to cut the different, the instrumental programs are trying to cut this, and they're trying to make it like, for instance, I don't teach chorus anymore. I taught chorus for a long time, but it doesn't fit in the schedule anymore. But chorus brings everyone together and teaches them, how we listen to each other and we sing together, and it's very powerful. And I'm really appreciative of people like Ernie Bach, who does a Music Drives Us, locally. I'm sure you've heard about his program, and people who try to just keep music in the school system.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think I've mentioned here in my show, my orchestra teacher back many, many years ago, Ann Fleck, who, in addition to teaching, was a percussionist with the Boston Symphony Orchestra, really kind of gave me permission to improvise, and that's come in so handy throughout my career, whether it was in human services right after college or once I went on stage performing educational magic shows around the country. The permission to go out and to have prepared material, but also to be willing to pivot and to improvise and to go with the flow. It was just a wonderful gift that she gave me that has served me very well throughout my life.
I love hearing that, because I do teach my students to improvise as well and to create. And, we learn about the famous jazz musicians, Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. We listen to them improvise with their scatting, but then also all the different songs I usually sing with them. I'll say, okay, who can come up with a new verse, and who can create, because that's just so important for us to create. I feel as humans, it's a real joy and gift, and when we create things ourselves. And so I'm always promoting that, you can create too, and honestly, I think the biggest reason why I published this book with dance songs was to promote that creativity. When I got my master's, they were, that you have to be a role model for your students as well. So I wanted to do something like this, just to say, look, I did this, and you can do it too,
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about a musical Murdog tale.
So I got my dog, my real dog, Nemo Lucky Sharky. I gave him 3 names. First I called him Lucky, then I called him Sharky, my mom was like, oh, you should call him Nemo. My mom's always coming up with great ideas. So I called him Nemo Lucky Sharky. So in the second book, Nemo Lucky Sharky wants to go back up to Manlantis. I called Earth Manlantis. And that's what he does. So it's another journey. But he's the main character in this one. So a lot of people, when they see my books, they say, oh, that's for a little girl. And I said, no, it's not for a little girl. It's for everyone. My brother's a mer boy, and there's, mer people throughout my books. And Nemo is with his pal, Mugsy Lovejoy, who I actually got the name Mugsy from a neighbor who had a dog named Mugsy, but I called him Mugsy because it was the ocean. But probably put way too many characters in that book. I'm not going to lie. I know how writers are always like, oh, you can't have too many characters. Well, I went a little above and beyond with the characters in my second book. But honestly, my dream is to make it into a 3D movie and have it be like a series. So all those characters are all like little takeoffs. They could all be their own picture books or their own series of stories. I have stories that are just waiting to be created.
Yeah. Now, early on in the show, you mentioned that you spent 10 years in Kuwait. I understand when you went to Lebanon, you had family there, but Kuwait is I haven't been there. It's a very different country. What brought you to Kuwait?
So my father being Lebanese and also being an engineer, he had lived there before I was born, and then they called him back to build a power plant out there, and so he moved with his company out there and brought us with him. I did go to an American school, and it just made me appreciate culture. Mm-hmm. And we traveled back and forth every summer back to Plymouth, Mass, where I became a mermaid. and I traveled to Paris, and I traveled to Egypt, and I traveled to a lot of different countries. And it just really made me appreciate the various cultures, never mind experiencing, the cultures in Kuwait, which was a little challenging for me as a young girl, because it is a predominantly Muslim country, and if you're not covered up out there, it could get a little tricky. It can get a little tricky, but staying on a positive note, I really learned a lot. The school had a music teacher who's a huge influence on me. And his name's Terry, and he had a musical every year. Mm-hmm. So he would do a musical mainly with the high school, and middle school, and I was in elementary school at the time, but my sister was always the lead in the musical. So I would sit there and watch her, and that's what made me want to be a singer. And he also would cast me in it because he knew my sister, and if he needed a child part, he let me be in it. So I went ahead and I started writing. So it's actually when I wrote some of the songs that are in the book. It was like I wrote A Lucky Ladybug and sketched that into a book. And then I wrote another song, and I just started writing. And I was like, I'm going to be a writer. But then no one can spell Millennium Mermaid. And then I became a music teacher. And then I said, oh, I'm going to change it. I'm going to be Music Mermaid, musicmermaid.com. It's catchy. Yeah. So that's where it came from, and I always wanted I love like pen names, and so I said, I'm Music Mermaid. That's going to be my artist name, and that's what I'm going to use. And I want to keep it separately from my real name and my real teaching. I want it to be an artist name.
Uh-huh. It's wonderful. I think you've lived a really interesting life, and I hope you have many more years ahead of you. And are you planning on writing a third book?
I'm planning on definitely writing a biography, kind of like a self-help book, just because I've had so many experiences living in Kuwait, and I've been influenced by a lot of self-help books. Like my favorite one is A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And mm-hmm. I want to write like a book, other than just children's books. I want to write an adult book one day. But yeah, I do think I'll do children's books. The way I did these children's books was I got so lucky. I didn't think I was going to do one because it's not cheap to publish your own books. And when you go through a boutique company, and I did self-publish this one and found my illustrator in the Philippines. So I was able to afford it. And I was just so blessed to get this incredible illustrator who's now illustrating lots of different children's books. His name is Aljan Inertia. And then I also had a woman help me publish, Kate Conway, who was publishing books back then. Now she's become a real estate agent. So if I do it, I probably will have to find a way to publish the children's books. But yeah, very thankful. Also, I don't know if you know Peter Reynolds, our local author, famous author. He really inspired me as well. I mean, I had been going to the Blue Bunny since it was open, and he said, "Oh, of course you can publish a book, anyway, definitely, and he really encouraged me to do that. Also, Yolanda Salucci, I don't know, she's a friend of mine, and she has a Waltham television station, and she called me up and loved my idea and wanted me to be on her television station, and that really inspired me to want to just do it, because she loved my idea. So it's so important that we all inspire each other. And I really appreciate you having me on your show. It means a lot to me. So thank you so much, Chad. Yes.
You're very welcome. Remind everybody where they can go to find out more about A Musical Mermaid Tale and find out more about the Music Mermaid.
Thank you. So yeah, if you go to musicmermaid.com, you'll see the fabulous stores. There's 11 of them that are carrying my book now in their stores. And Mermaids of Cape Cod is one of them, which is in Wareham, Mass. And the Blue Bunny, which I just mentioned. And then the Cove in Norwood, which is owned by Dune Jewelry. And there's a lot of them, so I'm not going to list them all right now, but I want to shout them all out, and you'll see them when you go to musicmermaid.com. And also, if you just type in Music Mermaid on Spotify or iTunes, or and I also have a YouTube channel, but the easiest way is to just go to musicmermaid.com, and it'll lead you to all those things.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of A Musical Mermaid Tale. Our guest has been the Music Mermaid. Hey, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Reading with Your Kids, where real magic happens every time a child opens a book with someone they love. If you had a good time with us today, share the episode with your friends and leave a 5-star review. It helps us reach more magical families like yours. And hey, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Jeff Verney, the Troubadour of Happiness. Please be sure to check out Bunnies to the Rescue. We also want to thank the Music Mermaid. Please be sure to check out A Musical Mermaid Tale. I want to thank our sponsors. When you use our promo codes, you score a great deal, and we may earn a small commission that helps us keep the podcast magical and free for families everywhere. Today, we want to thank our sponsors, Zevo Life. Please visit zevo.life to receive 30% off your order. CozyEarth.com. Please use the promo code READ to receive 41% off at CozyEarth.com. And of course, BigForkBrands.com. Use that promo code READ to receive 20% off your order at BigForksBrand.com. I want to thank my incredible team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Elle Glassman, Dante Greco. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. And as always, we want to thank you. Please keep reading, keep dreaming, and keep making the world a better place, one page at a time. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
With a pep in my step, life's a grand adventure, no need for regret. With a heart full of laughter and a soul full of zest, I'm shining like a diamond, I'm living my best. My life is magic, oh can't you see? Sprinkling joy like it's confetti on me. It's special, it's vibrant like a fireworks show. With every heartbeat, I let the happiness flow. My life is precious, so very, very true. I cherish each moment. dance to your own beat. With magic in your heart, you can't be beat. Life